Broken Kanu's way, and Dahui's right out of the centre. It's Kanu, what's he going to do? Oh! Can you believe it?
Hello Arsenal fans, and welcome back to a new episode of Can You Believe It, an Arsenal podcast. And yes, the world is ending because Willian has scored an Arsenal goal. Finally, after 37 appearances in the famous red and white, Willian actually has a goal, and Arsenal won the game as well. So we'll get into all of that. Obviously, this game doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. We're not going to qualify for Europe. The Premier League season's pretty much over. In terms of actual analysis, there's not really much point in terms of where we're going to go. The season's over. Thursday was the biggest game and we obviously got knocked out. But that's obviously in the past, and there doesn't seem to be like a change at ownership or at executive level or of the manager. So there's no real point in me continuing to speak about that issue in this podcast. Let's just talk about the football and this singular game. And let's start with the lineup. So Bernd Leno started in goal. Callum Chambers returned at right back with Rob Holding and Gabriel at centre back. Rob Holding was captain on the night. Mari was ruled out with injury. Saka at left back, which was a key part of this performance. He was really, really good on the day, but we'll get more into that later. The midfield of El Neni and Ceballos. I saw a lot of people questioning why Ceballos was starting, because obviously he's not staying next season. So what's the point of developing a player that is not going to be with us long term? I understand that, but with Miguel Aziz playing for the under-23s on Friday, he had no chance of making this squad. Partey probably needed the rest. Remember, he's had a disrupted season. Xhaka's injured. So I understand the Ceballos selection, even if it was a bit infuriating. And then the front four was Willian, Emile Smith-Rowe, Nicolas Pepe and Gabriel Martinelli through the middle, which was the key thing I think that excited a lot of Arsenal fans before the game. Now, I don't think Gabriel Martinelli had the best game up front, and it makes me question the way that we played with him up front. I think, to be fair, he probably could have got a couple of goals. There were a couple of dangerous crosses from Saka that he failed to get ahead of. I think in terms of his all-round play, I don't think he was that involved compared to when you think of the Newcastle game when he was on the ball quite a lot. He was attacking his fullback a lot. In this game, I don't think he had as many touches and as much of an influence as the Newcastle game. So it begs the question of where you see him long term. Do you see him on the left wing or do you see him up front? A lot of people have said that up front is probably his best position, and I'm not really sure if it is, because I think people say that because he's got really good movement, but I think you can have really good movement from out wide as well. I know Unai Emery, and I'm sorry to bring up that name, so close to being eliminated by that man, but he played him up front in a few Europa League games. But apart from that, in the Premier League, he's pretty much been on the left wing. So I wonder if the left wing is going to be his best option going forward in the Premier League. Obviously, when he develops physically, I mean, he's still 19 at the end of the day. When he develops more physically, he might go more as a striker. But for now, I think if he just develops on the wing, I think that could be good for him. The game started. I don't think we started well at all. I think West Brom really wanted to go for it. Obviously, if they lost this game, they were getting relegated. So West Brom started the game well. We had the first chance, really. Pepe on the volley. It was a good through ball to Saka from Ceballos. It falls to Chambers, who volleys, and it ends up to Pepe, who shoots high. He should have done better from the position he was in. We were so bad after that, though. It was just not a really good performance. It was just quite dire. We weren't getting on the ball a lot. West Brom were going very direct and we were just very timid. And obviously this was what we were like in the first half against Villarreal, and I just don't understand why we are like this. It could be a confidence issue. It could be just the players looking confused and being confused with Mikel Arteta's ideas and how he wants to play. But I think for the most part, we looked quite dire in that first half. Pereira had a couple of efforts. He shot just wide with a really good effort. Midfield was nowhere near him. Pereira with a couple of efforts that really done well. We started to get more into the game, I'd say, around the 20th minute. Saka, again, great work down the left. He had a great cross. There was no one to tap it in. El Neni had a shot, but it was an easy save. And just before the goal happened, the first goal, I was really annoyed with Dani Ceballos just before the goal. So it was literally just before the goal. So Smith Rowe was on the left wing, and I have no idea why Ceballos didn't pass it to him, because Smith Rowe was basically 1v1 versus the defender. And I think Smith Rowe has shown on multiple occasions that he can beat a man very easily, because he's a really good technical player. He's got a really good burst. He's not just one of those creative players that is just always passing. He's a very modern player. He can take on a man. He's got really good dribbling. And I like that about Smith Rowe. So he could have done more to get Smith Rowe against 1v1 versus defender. And I think that was my biggest irritation with Arteta's sides, is that they always try and pass backwards and maybe it's done too much. Sometimes you just got to pass forwards, and I know that's partly because of the personnel, but Ceballos is a good passer forward, as much as he's not a really good all-round central midfielder in the Premier League. I think one of his skills is being able to pass forward, and he could have just made a simple pass to Smith Rowe. But this is me nitpicking at a specific moment, because very shortly after, Smith Rowe actually gets a goal. And it's his first Premier League goal, and it was lovely work down the left-hand side. Saka goes in, he puts in a great cross from the left, and it's a great finish from Smith Rowe on the volley. It's a really lovely goal. It's Smith Rowe's first goal in the Premier League, like I said, and it's been a long time coming. Obviously, he had that effort against Spurs, our last home wing in the Premier League, and it hit the bar. And obviously, you remember that day when he ran off celebrating because he thought it was in. But I'm glad for him. I think he has the ability to score 5 to 10 goals a season. He has that in him, and I think he is a good finisher. I think he's got a good technique when he's shooting. I think that will come with age. I think he's got that Ramsey type, not the Ramsey type late runs into the box, but just that Ramsey element of being able to move the ball very swiftly. And he's got really good technique, and I just really love watching him play. And him and Saka are the real bright spots in this side for us. This team in general is really unbalanced and doesn't have a lot going for it in terms of bright spots. But Saka and Smith Rowe are definitely just bright spots going forward. They link up really well, and that's what you need with two forwards like this. I know Saka played at left back on this day, but you need this for these two players. You need them linking up very well. Because I think attacking play, I've mentioned many times, that is all about relationships on the pitch. And when you have two players that link up very well, it bodes well for us going forward as an attacking unit. And that is regardless of who our manager is or regardless of the system we're playing. If two people can link up very well, like Smith Rowe and like Saka, then we have a really good chance going forward. And they're obviously very young, and obviously we have to produce a competitive team around them, otherwise we're just not going to go anywhere with them forward. They'll probably end up leaving. But that goal gave us some confidence, and I think it was all us after that, really. It wasn't too long after that goal that we scored our second, and it's all Nicolas Pepe here. Chambers, an easy pass to him. Pepe dribbles down, cuts in from the right on his left foot and bangs it in top corner. It's a really lovely goal from Pepe, and it's just a classic Pepe goal. And for once, Pepe has scored one of these goals without it being ruined by an Arsenal loss, and he done really well. He's done this a few times now. I mean, he done it against West Ham last season. He done it against Brighton last season. He's done it a few times since then. He just has that ability to be able to shoot off his left foot really well. And I think Pepe actually had quite a poor game in general against Townsend. Connor Townsend actually marshalled him very well. And I think that's the problem with Pepe in general, is that sometimes he's a bit too reliant on his left foot. And when he's on the right, he always wants to cut in on that left foot. I think when he plays on the left, there's a bit more variety about his game and he has a bit more flowing movement. I think in general, Pepe has been really good in 2021. And I think that's the player that we expected when we signed him. I think it's just about the performances beforehand. And now Pepe has 12 goals this season. And when you think about it, I know the majority of them have come in the Europa League, but he's our third top goal scorer by quite a large margin. And I've been saying this a lot, is that Pepe should be someone we are trying to get more game time, because he is capable of producing something out of nothing. Now, you can easily say that Pepe is a bit unbalanced. He probably doesn't fit the side as much as some other people do, and I understand that. But, he's just got this X factor that's done really well, and he produces moments. And in a team where we don't score many goals, in a team where we lack a lot of individuality, he's one of the players that produces that. So that goal was really lovely, and he's a really good player when he's free-flowing. I think sometimes his 1v1 play can leave a lot to be desired, but I think he was really good here for the goal, and that's important. And we were 2-0 up, and after that it was basically really us for the rest of the half. We were playing out the back well. Saka was always threatening down the left, and we ended the half 2-0 up. And it was what we deserved, really, because even though West Brom started better, we started really badly. I think we grew into the game after the first goal, and it was mainly because of Saka and Smith Rowe. But the second half comes, and Pepe started the half. He had a good effort that was saved well in the second half. Smith Rowe had another good effort that was saved. Smith Rowe has one of these things, and I think a lot of people will remember the West Brom goal away from home when he gave it to Saka, and what was really good about that was his give and go. And he's just so good at his give and go, where he will pass it to a player and then he'll do this arching run forward, and it's just so lovely to watch. And I don't know if it's just because you don't see many players do it, or none of the Arsenal players are smart or bright enough to do it, but he just done it really well here, and I was really pleased for him to do it. Again, even though in this occasion that I'm talking about, I think he gets hacked down by one of the West Brom players. We had a really good counter-attack from a corner. Ceballos played in Saka, and Saka with an incredible cross, and somehow Martinelli and Smith Rowe miss it. We started making some changes at this point. Lacazette came on, Tierney came on. So there were some players that were getting some good minutes here. And there were actually quite early changes. Lacazette at the 60th minute, Tierney at the 63rd minute. So it was actually quite early for once. But then West Brom get a goal back, and it's Mateus Pereira, who actually had been doing well all game, really. He's running, pretty much has the whole midfield chasing him. Ceballos can't keep up. Gabriel keeps backing off. El Nenny's nowhere near him. And Pereira has a shot outside the box and scores. It's a good finish. And after that goal, we let them back in the game. They were dangerous. Furlong had a couple of headers that just went wide. We just couldn't keep the ball. And we just started becoming more passive, and we started allowing them territory and possession. Just wasn't really good enough, and especially from the position we were in, where we were playing some decent football and looked like we were in some decent control. Here we really didn't do anything to hold our heads up high. We held on, and Partey came on for Ceballos, which was quite an important change. I thought Partey actually done pretty well when he came on. He's a really good player, I think, and he's had a poor season by his standards, but especially coming into a new league and he's had so much disruption, just like most of the people in the team. But I think he's done, for the most part, pretty well. But then in the 90th minute, the moment of the season happens. We get a free kick outside the box and Willian bangs it in for his first Arsenal goal. And holy crap, the world is ending. I couldn't believe it when he scored. And to be honest, I've been thinking for a few weeks, actually, that if Willian's ever going to score for Arsenal, it's going to be from a set piece. I think he had a free kick chance a few weeks ago. I think it was against Slavia Prague, maybe. Or it could have been against Olympiacos, where he hit the post. So I always thought if Willian was going to score from Arsenal, it was going to be from a free kick. And it was a really good free kick. Credit Willian. I actually think in the last 10 to 15 minutes, he actually started to come into life. I think he was more energetic. He was showing a bit more intent. Now, the bar is in hell. Like, he has not performed well all season. He's had, I think, he had one good game and one competent game. And the competent game was against Leicester away, and the good game was against Fulham on the opening day, again, away from home. The rest of the time, he's been pretty bad. This game, again, it was more of the same until the last 15 minutes. He started to get more into the game. He showed a bit more life into him, which was nice to see, actually. He wins this free kick and he gets the goal. And it's a really, really nice goal. And to be honest, the team celebrate with him really nicely. And you can see that it meant a lot to the team. That's the most important thing, because me as a fan, like, I can criticise Willian. I can say he's not been good enough. I think I said on Twitter he's the worst Arsenal signing of all time. I still stand by that. I think he's just been a huge waste for the player that we were supposed to get. I know a lot of people disagreed with the 3-year contract, but he was supposed to come in and be good this season. And apart from a few assists from corners and from crosses from a short corner, he's been pretty woeful. So it was nice to see him get a goal, and it was nice to see the team celebrate with him the way he did. It reminded me of the Lacazette goal against Newcastle last year, when he had gone for a real barren run and the team looked like they really enjoyed that goal. So I'm pleased for Willian. No one wants to see a player fail. They want to see a player be good, especially for the club they support. So hopefully this can kick him on and actually do some contributions, even if I still don't think he's good enough and I still don't think he should be here any longer. But shortly after, the full-time whistle went, ended 3-1. On XG, we were quite lucky. I think we had 0.89 to 1.86. So West Brom were quite unlucky in this game. Although I do think that a lot of the chances that we could have had were just completely missed. Saka put in some really dangerous crosses, and I think we did do enough to win the game, but I don't think it was as comfortable as it could have been at the back. Right, so where does that leave us? So it leaves us in 9th. Unfortunately, Everton won against West Ham, which is really annoying when you think about it, because if they lost to West Ham, then we would be level on points with Everton at this point, even though they have a game in hand. We're only 4 points off from 7th, but we basically have to win every game to really have a chance of going above Spurs. Spurs who are in 7th. I don't think it's going to happen. We have Chelsea on Wednesday. We're not going to win that. It's probably going to be 8th is the best we're going to get. And, I mean, that's the same as last season, but it's not really good enough when you think about it. I mean, we've won 15 games, but we've lost 13. It's just not really inspiring. And this season as a whole has been a massive failure. And I understand that Arsenal are in a rebuilding phase, but a lot of the decisions we've made this season have just not been good enough and not really fit for a competent club when you think about it. Arsenal have a big summer coming up, and there are a lot of things that they've got to do, not only with the playing squad, but also thinking about what they want to do with the manager. I said on Thursday's podcast that I think Arteta should go. I don't think there is any point in him at the moment. staying. I think all the point for him staying is all hypothetical. I don't think there's any evidence apart from him winning an FA Cup, and ultimately I don't think that's good enough. I mean, Roberto Di Matteo won the FA Cup and the Champions League with Chelsea. It doesn't make him a good coach. So I think unless he improves really, really well between now and the end of the season, where we win 5 goals every game, then I just don't see any point in keeping him. I think this season's been a failure. I think Arteta should probably go and we should start again. But that's not to say that the people above him are people I trust, because I don't trust these people at all. And Edu should probably go with Arteta if that happens. We should be hiring a proper director of football. But again, do you trust Josh and Stan to make that appointment? No, I don't. And I think the owners need to go as well. So basically we need new owners, new execs, a new manager and new players. So a lot to do this summer, as it seems. In terms of players, I think the priorities have to be central midfield in terms of one creator and one player to be able to play alongside Partey. Spice is going back in the summer. He's not being signed. Odegaard, I'm not sure if he's going to stay. I would like him to stay. I know he's had a bit of iffy moments recently, but I still think he's shown a bit where I think he's been good. I think it could be worth it. I mean, Arsenal are in a difficult place because a lot of the players are not good enough, but some of them, if they show some promise, could be future good players, and maybe Odegaard will be good for us. I'm hoping he would be if he stayed, but there's no guarantee he will stay. A midfielder alongside Partey and a creator. We've been linked with Camavinga today. I don't think he's going to join. He's way too good of a talent to choose an 8th and 9th place team in the Premier League. We've been linked with Basuma as well. That one I seem a bit more realistic. Basuma's at Brighton. I don't think any other clubs above us will be after a Basuma. Maybe Liverpool if they lose Wijnaldum, but I think Liverpool can attract better as well. So Basuma could be a good target for us, and I think he's a good player as well. We've been linked with Sanderberg as well from Sheffield United. Again, I don't know how much he's valued. I think I saw a report 35 million, and that's way too much. In terms of creators, Emi Buendia is one that has never gone away as being linked. Obviously, Odegaard's another one that Arsenal want to sign. I think Buendia would be a really good signing in addition to an Odegaard. It would really improve our creativity, but that probably means that 1 or 2 forwards have to leave. So it would probably mean that Willian would have to leave, and it would probably mean that Lacazette has to leave, because we would have too many spots up front to not fit everyone in. Obviously, backup left back is another issue. I don't know. We haven't been linked with anyone really concrete at the moment. Centre-back always comes back to us, and I don't think we should sign a centre-back. I think if Luiz leaves, I think in terms of numbers, we've got enough there, but in terms of maybe experience, we probably don't, unless you trust Rob Holding to be the experienced centre-back. I think Saliba has to be used next season. I don't care what Arteta thinks about him. Saliba seems like a really good talent. We spent 30 million on him. He could develop to be a really good centre-back, better than all the others. Use him. I think right back is another thing. I just hope we don't be stupid and just buy someone like Hakimi. I really like Hakimi. He's a really good player, but he would cost a significant amount of our transfer budget. So just buy someone who can develop into a really good fullback. I think Bellerin will leave in the summer. I think it's just there's a natural passing of ways that's going to happen in the summer, I think, with Hector Bellerin. I think goalkeeper now is maybe something that has to be looked at. I think with Leno, he hasn't got long left on his contract. We've been linked with Onana from Ajax, but it depends on how his doping ban goes. He's been linked to us for only 7 million. which is a real bargain when you think of the quality of keeper he is. You've got Szczesny as well, who's been linked with a move away from Juventus, and obviously he has history at Arsenal, and he's an Arsenal fan. He was very gutted when he left, so I think it would be a good signing for Szczesny if he was to come back. He's also homegrown as well, so that would really help our homegrown quota. But obviously, it completely depends on what happens with Leno. I don't know about Matt Ryan, if he'll stay as backup. We'll see. But I think there's a lot to do this summer. There's been reports that KSC are going to give us money to spend. I don't know how true that is. I think that's just to appease the fans, really. I think that's just to give them some hope. I don't really see us spending a lot of money, especially in our position. I mean, KSC have provided 15 million worth of funds, which is not good enough. We'll see. I think you're probably more likely to see pigs fly than to see KSC give us actual funds for transfers. But yes, I've managed to get to the end of the podcast, and really, I thank you guys for listening. The support recently has been crazy. I really appreciate that. Arsenal have been really bad this season, but your support has not been bad at all. I will be doing some stuff over the summer, some different podcasts, talking about transfers, talking potentially about previous games, previous players that I've loved in the past, and why I've loved them, my favourite moments, etc., etc. It will be an interesting summer, and just stand by the club, I guess. You can be angry with the club, that's fine. You can criticise them, that's fine, like I have. But always support Arsenal in the end of the day. And no matter how bad we can get, hopefully we can get better. And hopefully it's very soon. Hopefully it's next season. I don't see it likely, but hopefully it is. But thank you for joining me on this podcast. If you could leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, because they've changed their algorithm recently. So if you could leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be absolutely fantastic. It would really make the podcast grow. And we have a big game on Wednesday at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. I think expectations are at all-time low, so I don't think we're going to expect anything. They're in the Champions League final. We're 9th in the league. So it's probably going to be a tough one, but maybe we'll produce a surprise. Who knows? But until then, come on, you Gunners.
Well, it's broken Kanu's way, and Hui's right out of the centre. It's Kanu. What's he going to do? Oh! Can you believe it?